So, Radhe Radhe everyone, in the previous video we started with the digestive system, anatomy and the physiology. That it was very basic. We discussed about the organs and the accessory organs which were playing important role in digestion, ejection of the waste material, absorption of the food, everything basic which was covered in the earlier video. Now we're going to start with the part that is called the mouth, which is going to cover with external structures and the division of the oral cavity, which includes the oral vestibule. And the oral vestibule over here, that includes the three part, that is the lips, cheeks and the teeth. So we are going to discuss the anatomy of all these and a basic physiology in the next video. So as you can see over here, what is there? We can see the lips, which is divided into two major parts, that is called the upper lip and the lower lip. Both meet at the lateral ends, that is called the oral angle or the labial commissure. Here you can see the oral angle or the labial commissure. Now above the lips, we have two grooves on either side. What are the grooves? These are the grooves. All right. So we have two grooves as you see here. These are called the nasolabial sulcus. They are called the nasolabial sulcus. In the middle, there's going to be a depression called philtrum. Mouth in the middle, there is going to be a depression that is called the philtrum, and then under the lips there going to be another sulcus which is called the mentolabial sulcus or the mentolabial fold. Here we can see each and every part clearly in this video. Now remember the muscle which is located over here, you know the muscle, this is called the orbicularis oris. This is the muscle that regulates the opening of the mouth, and the opening is called the oral fissure. Here you can see the opening of the mouth. This fissure is called the oral fissure, Latin rima oris. And now we are going to see the opening of the digestive system or the digestive pathway. So we divide this oral cavity into two parts, that is oral vestibule, as you can see is the complete oral vestibule, and they have two parts. The first is called the oral vestibule. This area, this is called the oral vestibule, and this area is called your oral cavity. All right. So now we are going to study about the parts of the oral vestibule. That is the external part and the internal part of the oral vestibule. We are having teeth over here as well and the gums here. So the oral vestibule external part, the external part includes your external border, includes your lips and your cheeks. So everything that is outside is covering in the external border, and again everything which is inside, that is your teeth and your gums, so these are in your internal borders. So we begin with the anatomy of the lips, the frenulum of upper lip and the frenulum of the lower lip. So what is it? The upper lip is attached to the gum through frenulum of the upper lips, and the lower lips is attached to the gums with the help of frenulum of the lower. The outer sides of the lips are covered with the epithelium, different type of epithelium, and the transition zone between the two sides. Here is the transition zone between the two sides of the lips. Now within the mucosa of the lip, you find the minor salivary glands called the labial glands. These labial glands continuously they produce the saliva that lubricates the inner side of the lips, and keep in mind that structures which we read earlier, they are here. These structures, these are the philtrum, or you can say these structures, they are the mentolabial sulcus or the nasolabial sulcus. All these structures, they are also associated with the upper and the lower lips. So these are the parts of the lips. So now we're going to discuss about the anatomy of the cheek, that is the buccinator muscle or the bucca. This is covered with the buccinator muscle. Over here you can see the buccinator muscle, and the buccinator muscle over here, which is over here. Now it is forming the shape of the cheek. The buccinator muscle forms the shape of the cheek, and above it, on the top of the buccinator muscle, there is a fascia. This is called the bucopharyngeal fascia. The bucopharyngeal fascia. Do not worry about it. I have processed notes about it, so you can read it from there. Just remember the anatomical positions of these. So this buccinator fascia that covers the buccinator muscle goes backward and behind the pharynx. On the top of the buccinator muscle, you may find fat over here. This is called the Bicket's fat pad or the buccal fat pad. Now, this fat pad, the buccinator fat pad with the subcutaneous connective tissues, give the cheek a definite appearance. Now, when you see the external feature of this fat pad, like here, the external feature that is covering the external fat pad, so here we can see skin, layers of the skin. So the external layer is called the skin, that is the cutis. The internal layer is called tunica mucosa, and then there is a duct. Like this is the mouth, there is a small hole-like structure in your cheek, the internal area of the cheek, that is the parotid duct. So let's see it in the image. Now around here, as you see, the tunica mucosa of the cheek, alright, so this is the inner layer of the cheek, the tunica mucosa. It has a small duct over here, you can say the parotid papilla with the opening of the parotid duct. Now the parotid duct is the duct and gland which you can see that allows the salivary production. And an elevated portion around the parotid ducts that open into the oral vestibule is called the papilla. That is a small elevation where the parotid duct opens into the oral vestibule. Now one of the beautiful part, that is the anatomy of the teeth. So let's take a look over here. So let's see the anatomical structure of the teeth. It has three regions. The first region which we have is called the crown. So this area, this you can see is the crown of the tooth, the crown of the tooth. And then we have this area which is called the root of the tooth embedded in the dental cavities, and between to these parts here, the area which is this area, between these two parts there is a neck which is transition between the crown and the root. The neck over here, it is covered by gums, as you can see, and the root is fixed inside the dental alveolus. So this fixation over here in the dental alveolus, this is called periodontium. So this you see, this is the periodontium. This type of joint is called the gomphosis joint. The gomphosis joint is a very strong immovable joint. So the periodontium, that is that the gomphosis, the dentoalveolar joint, is the joint between the root of the tooth and the periosteum on the inner surface of the dental alveolus. Gomphosis, dentoalveolar joint. Within the tooth here, as you can see, there is a cavity, and within the cavity you will find the dental pulp. The dental pulp is nothing, just the loose connective tissue rich in neurovascular structures. And this dental pulp is continued towards the down, called as the root canal. This part over here is called the apical foramen, where the blood vessels and the nerves enter the tooth. Here around the pulp cavity, you find the dentine. This part, this is called the dentine, which makes up the basic substance of the tooth. This dentine in the upper area is covered with a hard substance that is called the enamel. And over here, the part cementum, which is like just superficial to the enamel, is a calcified structure around the enamel. This is a more clear image which you can see and know about it. Now, throughout our lives, we have two different set of teeth. The first set of teeth are called the milk teeth, and their 20 milk teeth usually they begin to show up around 6 months of life, and then by the time we are 24 months old approximately, we should have a full set of milk teeth. As we start to grow, the milk teeth are gradually starting to fall off between the age of 6 to 12 years, and they start to get replaced by the permanent teeth. The permanent teeth consist of 32 teeth, and the last set of the teeth, which appear at around the age of 17 to 24 years, is called the wisdom teeth. And they actually call wisdom teeth because they appear later after all the other teeth have appeared. Now, dividing the teeth into different quadrants, as we can see here, there are two different ways of the division, which is according to the US and the one is according to the Europe. So we are going to see the one which the Europe studies, and here we divide the teeth into the four quadrants. Starting from the midline, the first two teeth from the midline, these are called the incisor teeth. And after that, the canine, molar, and the second molar. Same ways here as well. As you can see in each and every page, I have added my notes. Now we are finally going to read about the anatomy of the gums, that is the gingiva. But before that, I would let you know that these teeth over here, the incisors, the canine, they have a single root, but the molars and the second molar teeth have more than one roots. So about the gingiva. So the anatomical point of view says that the gum is a mucous membrane covering that the alveolar processes of the maxilla and the mandible, and they form a place for the teeth to be rooted. As you can see, जहां जहां से हम देखते हैं वहां से gums का जो division है वो अलग अलग हो जाता है. The gum is divided into alveolar mucous membrane over here, as you can see in point number 5. Alright, the next part which we can see is the gum proper, the part number 2 over here. So there are different parts of the gums which you can read in the notes. This area, this is called the alveolus mucous membrane. This area, this is called the gum proper. And this area, this is called the submucosal connective tissue. The alveolar mucosa covers the alveolar processes at the level of the root of the tooth. Also, this region contains a lot of submucosal connective tissue and is therefore mobile, and it moves when you touch it. Gum proper is the mucosa located at the same level of the neck and crown of the tooth. As you see, the mucosa itself doesn't have a lot of connective tissues here at the region of the gum proper. Now it is attached to the area of periosteum. Where is periosteum? Here, this area, as you can see, this area is called the periosteum because it's attached to the periosteum underneath, and that is why you try to move the gums around the neck of the tooth, you will see that it's immobile. The gums here do not move at all. All right. Now let's divide gums on the basis of anatomy. So here we see the gingival papillae. The gingival papillae are the projections you see between the neck of the teeth. The next over here is the gingival margin. It is the elevated margin of the gum around the tooth. And the gingival sulcus over here, which is the groove between the margin of the gum and the tooth. So that's all which we had for the anatomy of the oral vestibule. In the next video, we'll move across with the other topic. Thank you. Keep on supporting me. Radhe Radhe.